Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Ask the Expert, a daily series from 8:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. to help small businesses just like yourself tackle the latest issues. If you would like any question answered live on air, then feel free to ask any question in the comments or use the hashtag QBATE, that's QBATE on Twitter. If you need any more advice, join the official Intuit QuickBooks SMB community group on Facebook. Accountants and business experts are on hand 24/7, just like myself, to answer your questions. During the live session, we'll be running a poll, so please do engage with it and we'll reveal the results at the end. So who am I? My name is Aaron Patrick and it's a pleasure to be with you again. I'm a chartered accountant and a QuickBooks certified trainer, so don't be afraid to ask any QuickBooks related questions today, and have dedicated QuickBooks YouTube channel called Aaron Patrick, the QuickBooks Chat. So if you need any more QuickBooks news and advice, then why not go over and give itself a follow and maybe even a like. Also, I own a state-of-the-art accountancy firm called Boffix, which uses the best cloud technology available to help small businesses get the crucial real-time information they need at their fingertips. If you require accountancy advice, payroll, bookkeeping services, and now even QuickBooks online training, plus a whole lot more, then please do get in touch. We don't want small businesses just to survive, but to thrive. Boffix also has a YouTube content and a dedicated small business channel called Boffix Tax Tips. So maybe another one to have a look at. Okay, enough about me, and let's focus on today's session. As always, this session is all about you and your burning questions. If you have any questions, then please use any of the social channels to get in touch. So while we wait for the first questions to arrive, let's talk about some recent issues which our clients have currently been facing. By far the biggest issue at the moment is all around the new tier system and what that means to businesses. So let's look at it in a little bit more detail and also explain if there's any support that could be available. So just as background, on the 12th of October, the government announced a three-tier system of restrictions in England. They are underpinned by three new sets of regulations made on the 14th of October for Tier 1, Tier 2 and Tier 3. Crucially, these are all localized and regional. So it's not national lockdown, it's not national tier system, this is all based on regional. The regulations ban indoor and outdoor gatherings to varying degrees. For example, the rule of 6 applies to indoor gatherings in Tier 1, whereas all indoor gatherings involved people from different households are banned in Tiers 2 and 3. So as you can imagine, from Tier 1 all the way to Tier 3, and Tier 3 is the more severe. So how will this affect business? Effectively, if workers can work effectively from home, then they should be doing so, and employers should be encouraged or asking workers to come into the office in these circumstances, especially Tier 2 and above. However, employees who cannot work from home, whether because of poor working environment at home, insufficient equipment, resources, mental well-being, etc., can still go in the office. This is provided that the employers have made their risk assessment and made the workspace COVID secure. However, it seems that in-person meetings now be banned unless they are reasonable and necessary or fall within the rule of 6 in Tier 1. Any client meetings are now trickier and planned meetings may need rethinking. I would personally impose some kind of process or rules to avoid clearly unnecessary meetings from taking place. Whatever approach you take, you must make sure that your meeting spaces are COVID secure. In practical terms, it seems that employees should be taking a tougher line for in-person meetings and employees going into work by themselves. If the meeting could effectively be held online, then it's not reasonably necessary, and employees should not be encouraging such meetings to take place. It is unfortunately even more complicated if an employee lives in one tier and works in another. The rules essentially follow the employee. So if the employee lives in Tier 2 or 3 area, but travels to a Tier 1 area for work, then they need to comply with the higher restrictions. With this being local restrictions, you may find that your local authorities will require you to close your business during the higher tier. And this is the biggest worry for our clients. This is mainly aimed to those hospitality sector, which unfortunately would be the one most affected by the lockdown. As an example, Tier 3 means pubs and bars must close, with other venues like gyms and restaurants kept open in some areas and closed in others. Now, as far as support, this is going to go down to local authority websites. So I've been advising my clients to keep an eye glued to their local authority websites and councils. In fairness to the website and local authorities, they've been very quick to get information out to businesses. So you should find the support you need on one individual authority's website, and you should be able to see that there's lots of support there and lots of updates. So do make sure you keep an eye out on your local council websites. Unlike the start of the pandemic, when pubs and restaurants were closed nationally and support was facilitated through central government, this time the regional lockdown support is being handled by the local authorities. However, the government has announced that there are two core schemes which will be available in all areas: the expanded job support scheme, so a bit like furlough, and local restriction support grant. Currently, tier 3 will keep an ear out. Sorry, currently this is all for tier 3, but keep an ear out for announcement later today where we're expecting something to come into place for anyone who's in tier 2 as well. So let's have a reminder of what that job support scheme was. Employers will continue to pay the wages of their staff for the hours they work, but not for the hour, but for will continue to pay for the hours they work, but for the hours not worked, the government and the employer will pay each 1/3 of the equivalent salary. So the idea is if you can't bring your employer back into full time, then there's a support package for being able to bridge that gap of the money that's not being paid over to them. It was also expanded that the scheme is going to provide a furlough plan for businesses that have been forced to close. So very similar in that furlough that we had before. And it's only for those businesses who are forced to close for the coronavirus restrictions. For businesses that are unable to legally operate due to COVID-19 restrictions, the government will pay employees 66% of their wage, with the employees still contributing to pension and national insurance. The furlough will be available for 6 months from November the 1st, and payments will be made in arrears after applications open on December the 1st, meaning many employees will have to wait several weeks for their money. In addition to this, government has also announced a local restriction support grant, provides business with up to £3,000 per month, depending on the size of the company and value of the property. There is also one discretionary funding for businesses that have not been forced to close, but have been severely affected by the tighter measures. So if you've not physically had to close, but still been affected, there's an opportunity for you to go for some discretionary funding. This is a one-time payment of £1,500 and is decided on a case-by-case by the local authority and council. So let's recap. How do businesses get access to the support? All targeted support for businesses that have been forced to close to tier 3 restrictions and possibly tier 2, let's keep an eye on that announcement today, can be accessed through the local authority website. So that's a key difference there. We're not looking at going to the government website, we're going to our local authority website. This includes local furlough and monthly grants from the government. Wider support measures are still in place, like the job retention scheme and any VAT discounts, and that can all still be accessed from the government website. So you've now got 2 places you need to go for support. Either local if you're in tier 1 or tier 2, tier 3 currently, possibly tier 2, depending on the announcement, and government for the more wider job retention schemes, etc. Finally, we should emphasise that this new 3-tier system only applies in England and that different rules are in place in the rest of the UK. For example, Wales opted for a circuit breaker approach with different support packages available for their businesses. Phew, now that was a lot of information. If you're still wanting to go through a bit more information on this, I did a video on this very subject over at Boffick's Tax Tips. So please do go over there, or what we'll do is we'll make sure there's a link provided below so that you can get access to it and get access to that crucial information. Now let's get on to the most important part of the show, which is all about your burning questions. So remember, if you do have any questions live, and you want them answering live, then please don't be afraid to drop the information into the area below, and that's when we'll pick them up. So the first question that's come through is from an Instagram DM, and it's from Trent. Good morning, Trent. Hope you're okay. Morning, Aaron. I've converted my restaurant into a takeaway and food and delivery business a few months ago. I'm unsure of the impact of the new lockdowns here in Yorkshire. Will I be able to continue running my business? Any advice on how to stay afloat financially? Great question there, Trent. And it's one of the ones where a lot of clients and a lot of people that we've come across and a lot of business we've come across have had similar issues. It's that whole thing again where we're going back into uncertain times. When we had that first initial lockdown and everyone was forced to lock down, we had the ability where everyone was in the same boat. And what we had to do is try and find ways to help each other out and make sure that we were all helping each other as we went along. In these restrictions and local restrictions, there's more confusion because people are going to be in different tiers. They're going to have different exposure to what's going to happen in their regional areas. So, and especially if you've got people moving and commuting from one tier system to the other, people themselves are going to be confused about what's going to be open, what's not going to be open. The most important thing to do is keep an eye on your local authorities, because they're the ones that are going to have the power to be able to say what stays open and what doesn't. Remember how I said in the intro that even though there's going to be different tiers, different local authorities are going to have powers onto what's going to be open and what's not. And if you think about it, that makes sense, because it all depends on how restrictions or restrictedness we need to be able to handle the outbreak that's in that particular area. So you've got to keep an eye on your local authorities. You've got to understand that they're the ones who are going to have the final say if your business is going to have to close or stay open. Now, the way it currently works is it seems to be open or targeted to pubs and clubs, as I said before. And then there's also going to be an opportunity for things like gyms and everything else to be put into consideration. Now, if your business is one of those that's in consideration, again, keep an eye on the local authority, keep finding out if that's going to be applying to you. And if you are forced to close, then don't forget that there will be some local authority, some local support packages available that's going to be available for your particular business. Now, with that being said, how else can you help and what else can you do? Well, it's going to be the same as what we had in the first round of lockdowns. It's all about making sure you've got the cash available. So please, look at things like looking at what your business is doing now, how your business had kind of evolved since the first lockdown. Look at your cash flow. Use QuickBooks. Go into there, make sure the data's in there, and use that cash flow forecast to have a look and see how you're doing in terms of run rate. They're all the crucial bits of information that's going to let you know what next steps are needed and how crucial you're going to need support packages coming your way. So do make sure you're up to date with your information. Do make sure time like this is crucial, making sure you've got real-time information and understand your business. So you want to keep that in mind, keep going on and keep making sure that you've got that in place. So what I would say for you is just keep an eye on those local authorities. Just look at them on a daily basis. Make sure there's been no updates, because they are going to update. They are going to change. There are going to be amendments throughout all of this. People are going to go from one tier system to another, and we're going to have to just adapt accordingly. So keep an eye on the news, keep an eye on your local council, and then from there, you'll be able to make sure that you're on top of it. So good luck with it. Hopefully it goes all right for you, Trent, and hopefully you're able to turn this around. Adam from Facebook Messenger asks, hello, Adam, how's it going? Hi, Aaron. Things are looking grim here in Manchester. Is there any clarity on the government support schemes available to help businesses that have to shut? Yeah, definitely, Adam. So with everything that's going on, again, it's all down to local support packages. Now, I know there's been, in the news, there's been a big outroar in terms of kind of what if Manchester's not agreed, etc., and all this and the other. But at some point, that will all be agreed and that will all go through. Now, from terms of timing wise, it shouldn't put any pressure in terms of when these support packages were available. Because if you remember from the beginning, I was talking about how most of these support packages won't come into effect till the 1st of November, and most of them are looking for that 6-month period from then. So there should still be time for things to start coming together, especially when most of the applications and stuff are not looking like they're going to be open till the 1st of December. So even though we're still kind of going through these negotiations and all this, that, and the other, we should find that by the time it comes to actually claiming for whatever support packages that there is, hopefully, fingers crossed, at that point, all of the kind of small print and all the small areas and stuff have been designed. And the important thing is people like yourself, the small businesses, are going to be supported. So what support packages have you got? Well, as I said, if you have the opportunity or if you are forced to close by COVID-19, there is a potential for that new furlough scheme to come your way. So that's 66% of your wages, or at least your staff wages. And then there's also, dependent again on your business and everything else, there is also an opportunity of up to £3,000 per month, depending on the size and the company value. So there's going to be various different elements. That one's called Local Restriction Support Grant, so keep an eye out for that one. And then there's that job support scheme as well, nationally, that can help as well. So there are schemes available for you. They're a little bit more of a less national, so it's a little bit more complicated in terms of how to claim for it, because every little local authority is going to be different. But what I would recommend you do is, again, keep an eye on your local website, keep an eye on that council, and just see when updates come along. And when they do come along, every one of them will have their own way of claiming for it, but I'm pretty sure that if it's anything like the national claims, they're going to be pretty straightforward for you to follow. So good luck with that, and hopefully that works for you. The next question is from Gareth. So, hi, Gareth from Facebook Messenger. Hi, and what is the financial support available for businesses in Wales impacted by 2-week fire break lockdown? Well, they've announced their own set of measures, and basically it's all down to what measures they've put into place. Just like the local restrictions in England, every single local authority have now got the power and they've got the ability to bring their own into play. They're pretty much following suit in terms of kind of financial aid and financial support. So you should find the same sort of support packages. They're just going to be labeled differently and they're going to have different markers. But the important thing to do is to look at your local authority. That's the one where you're going to find these answers. That's the way you're going to know for sure. But just remember that there are going to be other businesses in your local area as well. So what I would tend to do is just keep an eye out and just form some sort of unions with the rest of the local businesses so that you're all in support of one another. Because at the end of the day, you're all going to have to go through the same process. You're all going to have to go through the same elements. And it's going to have to be, you're all going to have to keep up to date with the latest developments. So I would just recommend, getting together and making sure that the businesses do support one another. And then that way you should be able to find out that there'll be one or two of you in that position who's gone out there and been able to get yourself the support that's available. So, do make sure you keep an eye on that and going forward. From Twitter DM, we've got another question come through, and it says, I have applied for the self-employment income support scheme. Will the grant be paid in installments as a lump sum amount? Are the grants tax-free? A great question here. So this is a question that comes up quite a lot. People are still a little bit confused about the self-employment income support scheme. Remember, we've already had the two elements of that come through already, and we still have further more to come. But remember, they are going to start to be reduced now. So the support packages are supposed to fall in line with what the job support scheme was. So we're supposed to see that like for like, and how the job retention scheme has gone as well. So we started at 80%, and then we're starting to whittle our way down to 60% and so forth. So just remember, though, that that's local support scheme. They're paid in lump sums. So they're always behind in terms of kind of when they're available, but they're designed to cover the period that's just gone. So the idea is that those grants will then cover a set period. Now, we still have at least one more to go, and then we're possibly going to have another one. We're still waiting on kind of confirmation exactly what the amounts will be and date frame and everything that will go from that one. But basically, when they do arrive, they are taxable. So they are something that you should be looking to apply on your next tax return whenever that falls due. So we're looking for March 2021 in this case. So when March 2021 has been and gone, then what we should be seeing is that all support grants are put into there at that point. So make sure that you've got the recording for it and make sure that you put it onto your tax return going forward. So unfortunately, it's not tax-free, but it is something that you want to be making sure is recorded so that we can put it through. But do make sure that you apply for it as well. The one thing to note about this self-employment income support scheme that not many people are aware of, and just to be fully transparent of it, is they're not dependent on one another. So if you chose not to claim for the first scheme or the second lump sum, then that doesn't mean that you're barred from claiming for the next one that's coming available. So do make sure that you look at it. The whole point of each one of these schemes is that you're supposed to look at yourself during that time period. You're supposed to assess your business during that time. And if you've been adversely affected by COVID-19 during that time period, then it's that point that you should be claiming for the grant. So, it's independent of one another. Make sure you get that claim in if you have been adversely affected, and then you'll have the opportunity then to put forward the future claim. Brilliant. So the next question we've got Elvin from Instagram DM. Will I be able to cycle on off the job retention scheme? I might have the same pattern of working hours for my employees each month. Oh, so will I be able to cycle on and off the job retention scheme? That makes much more sense. Okay, apologies for butchering that question there, Elvin. So yeah, really good question here. And it's one of those ones where we're still trying to figure out, especially with the job retention scheme, we're still trying to make sure and understand what type of clients is aimed at the hospitality sector, but what clients exactly does this scheme really fall for? And where could it be best utilized in terms of offering that support for businesses that most need it? And we're still trying to figure out, for our point of view, which clients they fall under. And it's a really complicated scheme when you think about it. It's definitely a niche scheme. It's definitely designed for particular businesses in mind, and for those businesses who are forced not to be able to open at full capacity. They're forced not to be able to offer the same level of services they had done pre the pandemic. So it's all about making sure that they can still offer the staff that they've got some form of employment, and trying to top that up as much as possible. It does seem to be quite flexible. So looking at the devil in the detail that we have done, it does seem that there is kind of flexibility there. So as long as you've got kind of the means to be able to show and prove that you've got the that whole process, that you have been able to give them part-time work, and you fall through the criteria, and you make sure that you've got the the percentages all right, then you shouldn't have any issues in terms of what hours you work and what hours you don't. They're not expecting you to do chunks of hours. So you do 1/3 of it in the first part of the week, but then the rest of the 2/3 you can't, or anything like that. It's all about making sure that you have that ability to be able to just prove that your general hours have been affected, or your employees' general hours have been affected. And because they've been affected, because you haven't been able to give them full-time work, then that's when the support packages kick in, and that's when the government will be able to come in and give you that extra element to it. It is still, there's still some question marks fully in terms of how we're going to be able to, or what information we need to retain. But from what we can tell, it'll be just like the job support scheme, just like the COVID job retention scheme, where as long as you've got adequate records, as long as you have timesheets and everything that goes with it, you should be covered. So from what we've been telling clients and what we expect to see is just, let's keep those timesheets that we've been keeping throughout the rest of them. Let's make sure that they're kept up to date. And then yes, use them as our basis of why we're making the claim. And that should be the proof that here's our normal working hours. Here's the hours that we've been able to do during this time, during the lockdowns, during the restrictions, and this is why we're claiming for that job retention, job retention scheme from there. So, or job support scheme from there, should I say? So let's make sure we keep the records up to date, and we should be absolutely fine. Gillian from Twitter DM asks, good morning, Gillian. Morning, Aaron. I have taken a bounce back loan and I'm already stressed about the repayment. Can you explain the pay-as-you-go flexible repayment system? Certainly, Gillian. And this is one that definitely is starting to come a little bit more close to comfort than we kind of all expected, and kind of was all kind of thinking when we first took out bounce back loan. So let's just recap exactly what bounce back loan is, because it is still available. The scheme is still open. So if you are struggling financially as a business, then please do consider it, and please do think about if it's the support package for you. Well, basically, the bounce back loan was all designed and all about getting cash quickly into small businesses' hands. And the idea was that you could apply for it really straightforwardly from the bank, and there were no penalties, or there was no guarantees that was needed for you as a business owner, and you were able to then be able to claim and take this loan off. Now, when you took the loan out originally, it was all based on your turnover and your annual turnover, but basically when you were taking the loan out up to £50,000, at that point you had a year of interest-free and in repayment-free terms. Now, the whole point of this was originally, when it was going to finish, it was going to be for 6 years. So you had 1 year of no payments whatsoever, 1 year of no interest, and then at that point, you had the ability to start making payments, or they were going to request payments of you, and you had 5 years. It was a 6-year overall term. One of the good news is you now have the opportunity to extend that to 10 years in total. So that means once that first year has come and gone, which is starting to get closer and closer, depending on when you took out that first scheme. So when that first payment is due to you, instead of having 6 years to start that repayment process, you're now going to be able to extend that. So you've got the 9 years as well. So that's huge news, and that's really powerful, because obviously that's going to reduce the monthly repayment that you'll need. And also it's going to give you the opportunity and give you the chance to be able to really look at what information we've got, and you're going to have the ability, as long as you talk to whoever you borrowed them from and you've gone through the right channels, but you're going to have the ability to have things like breaks within repayment, and they're going to be very flexible in terms of where you can pay it. There's even going to be the opportunity for you to pay just interest only elements if you need to, and items like that. So all you need to do is have communication with whoever it is you've taken the loan out from. So most people have taken it from their business bank account. So just make sure that you have a communication with them. You're going through the right channels, and then they'll be very flexible in terms of repaying that loan. So that the whole scheme has been made really, really affordable for small businesses. So again, if you haven't taken out on the bounce back loan, do consider it. Do have a look at it, because it is a way in which you can make sure from a small business point of view, you've got some great support. The next question coming through, German from Facebook Messenger says, can I claim back statutory sick pay paid to employees due to COVID-19? What is the eligible criteria and process of the application? Well, there's an opportunity for you to look into that. When it comes to can I claim back statutory sick pay paid to employees, that's normally part and parcel of the normal PAYE solution. So as long as it's been paid through correctly, so there isn't, it's been gone through the normal process and everything else, then you do have the ability to claim back. What they did open during COVID-19 was the ability to actually get the repayment earlier. So that's the only change that actually have happened. But the process and the criteria is exactly the same as it always was. Nothing's changed there. What it was before, though, was it was kind of on an annual basis when it came to if you were owed having refunds or anything from PAYE point of view. Well, basically, you've taken that restriction away. And if you are owed a PAYE scheme at any point in time, then there is the eligibility there to get a refund, as opposed to having to wait till a year end, which is what you currently had to. So everything else is exactly the same when it comes to statutory sick pay. So normal rules apply. But yeah, if you do find yourself in a repayment position in PAYE, then do contact HMRC and you should be able to get that repayment paid back to you. Franklin from Twitter DM asks, hi Aaron, I've recently shifted to QuickBooks and want to set automatic late fee additions to my invoices. Is it possible? If not, then what would you advise? So when it comes to automatically late fee additions, there's nothing in QuickBooks that will automatically do that for you from the product itself. I mean, you can be savvy with it, so you can look at things like recurring entries. So what you could do is, if you've got a client who's constantly making late payments, you could set it up to automatically recur a charge and be able to put that in to apply that. If not, though, and you want to kind of automate it completely, there are definitely solutions out there. So what I would suggest you do is go to www.apps.com, which is the app store available for QuickBooks. During the app store, you're going to have the opportunity to go through and look and see if there's anything there that fits your bill. And in your case, there certainly is. There's definitely a lot of solutions out there, third-party solutions, which connect directly to QuickBooks, have a look at all of your invoice you've already sent out, and then they can start debt recovery in all sorts of manners from there. So I can't say which one is definitely right for you, because there's so many out there, but do have a look at them and go through them. And if there is a particular one you want to look into a little bit more detail, most of them do offer trials, so we give you an opportunity to have a look and see if that's the right way of looking at things. But what I would recommend in your case is to come in and contacting us at hello@boffics.com. We've got loads of experience with different apps out there, so we can make sure that it's the right one for you. But there's definitely a solution for you. It's just about finding the right one that's going to be right for your business. So go to www.apps.com, have a look there, go into debt management, and from there you'll find loads of solutions that connect directly with QuickBooks and make it really easy for you. And Franklin was, unfortunately, our final question for the day. So thank you, everyone who's been able to put questions in today. Remember, if you do have any further questions, then don't forget to tune in live to be able to make sure you can ask your questions. So during this time, we've been asking for some poll results. So I've been asking you some poll questions, and you have come back to me with the questions and answers accordingly. So the poll results we're in, so drum roll please. And the question we asked was, have you prepared your business for new tiered lockdown? Astonishingly, 50% of you said yes and 50% of you said no. So we're absolutely 100% down the middle on this one. Now, that's not surprising, to be honest. I was expecting a lot of people to be a little bit more apprehensive about the new tiered lockdown. And remember, with it being regional, we've got people in parts of the UK that are in tier 1, people in parts of the UK tier 3. So we are expecting a split between what's available and what, or who's prepared and who's not. Because, if you're in that lower tier compared to the higher tier, there's less preparation you're going to need. So we are expecting that, but we would love to be able to see that number start going up and start seeing you all prepared for it. And that's what this show is all about, is giving you help and advice to get you through and get you ready. So that's it. That's the end for today. So if you do have any questions, then please do get in touch with the QuickBooks support team or myself on hello@boffix.com. Coming up on Ask the Expert tomorrow, we've got a great one tomorrow. We've got Em Sheldon. She's a multi-award-winning lifestyle influencer, social media brand consultant, and business owner. Em has collaborated with top global brands like Nike, Adidas, Topshop, Cliche, and more. Tune in to learn tricks on building an award-winning blog. I'm definitely going to be joining in on that one. That sounds like a great little bit of advice there, especially when she's worked with such big global brands like that. I think we're going to be able to get some lovely bits of information, lovely bits of advice. So a quick reminder that if you need any more advice, join the official Intuit QuickBooks SMB community group on Facebook. Accountants experts just like myself are on our hand 24/7 to answer questions that are important about you and make sure you get the support you want. Thank you. Stay safe. I've really enjoyed answering your questions this morning, and have a great day. Bye for now.